Gamers, today we're gonna have a look at Gamers, today we're going to have a look at what is supposed to be an amazing game that was played during the ESL Masters Spring tournament. I don't know what ended up going down between these two. I just know that this is a ridiculously long match of StarCraft. And as far as Terran versus Protoss goes, that doesn't really happen all too much. It seems like most of the long games of StarCraft 2 these days, it's either like a Zerg versus Terran or a Zerg versus Protoss. But for Protoss versus Terran to be like, I think this is like a 50-minute long game. That's pretty ridiculous. So spotting right here in the top right-hand corner of the map Crimson Court of all maps, playing with the red Protoss probes from the United States of America, we have none other than Astrea. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs from the beautiful country of Europe. We're looking at Spirit's main command center. One of my favorite countries, personally. Spirit, of course, from Poland. One of Europe's best Terrans. Astrea considered to be, the #1 player from the North American region right now. And for good reason, he's been very good for a very long time. Obviously, in the early days when Astrea first got really good at the game, there was still Neep. I feel like Neep and Astrea did go back and forth for some time. Obviously, Special, also from North America. He seems to not play quite as much right now as he used to. Scarlet is also, of course, competing in the same region, but in my mind, Astrea, very, very strong at this point in time. Now, I'm not too surprised to see Spirit playing a long, drawn-out macro game. Here's the thing. A couple years ago, Spirit was the kind of guy who would get into a game-winning position and then make a command center. And then he would get even further ahead, and then he would make another command center. And then he would get even further ahead, and guess what? He would make another command center. There was actually kind of this running joke at StarCraft 2 events between the commentators that if you're gonna cast a Spirit series, be it a best of 3, a best of 5, whatever, you're gonna be there for a while. Whereas, say for example, usually we like sign up for the different games, right? So say there's like a, I don't know, Serral versus Maru. All of the commentators would love to cast that. The Spirit games, they can take a very long time, especially if you decide to like, I don't know, maybe one of your co-casters decides to pick a Zerg versus Zerg. A best of 3 of ZVZ can take literally 10 minutes. A best of 3 featuring Spirit, however, can easily take an hour and a half. Now, these days, that's not really the case so much anymore. Spirit has certainly become a lot more game decisive, I guess. He's gotten a lot more decisive whenever he's ahead. He actually pushes in for the win very, very frequently. So these days, that's not really the case anymore, but he still certainly has a little bit of that in himself. Astrea, of course, a bit of a cheeky boy. I've seen him play very many strange build orders and wacky styles in general, but he is certainly somebody who, when he feels like he can go ahead and win, he will just push for the victory. Say, for example, he gets an advantage with the Blink Stalkers. He will not be afraid to snowball that into a massive advantage just a couple of minutes later. So, curious to see how these two ended up playing such a long match. Maybe that's a bit of a spoiler, by the way. Is it a bad thing that I mentioned that these games are really long? I mean, I'm just telling you basically what I know. I don't know who ended up winning this. I have no clue. I'm just telling you the information that I have. I usually, whenever there's like a new replay pack available for StarCraft 2, I sort all of the games in file size first. And this is one of those games that is basically like a megabyte big. And a megabyte in StarCraft 2 replay file size is actually kind of insane. Anyways, looks like it's going to be a Blink Stalker opener. Not too surprising here, of course, from Astrea. We'll have to see how many gateways he goes in total. It looks like it's going to be 4. So this is actually a very committed push. Certainly something that can straight up win the game. Now, spoiler alert, he won't. There's no way he's going to straight up win the game. One of the problems, of course, here for Astrea is that Spirit, well, he plays on the European server. And MaxPax has been a fan of the 4-gate Blink Stalker build for a very long time. Spirit's certainly somebody who's not afraid to go onto the ladder, and he'll probably be playing against MaxPax at least frequently enough to have learned how to play against this sort of opener. It's very common, of course, from Protoss players to go for the shenanigans. I'm a little curious. Yeah, I'm actually quite interested here as to why Astrea decided to go for good old 4-gate Blink. Doesn't seem to be as popular anymore when it comes to the highest ranked players in the world. Neither Hero nor MaxPax really plays the 4-gate Blink Stalker opener straight up that often anymore at this point in the meta. I think the main reason for it is that they have indirectly trained their opponents to get really, really good at that. Anyways, Spirit has also gone for a cloaked Banshee here. It's going to be double cloak. Does mean that the siege tank is going to be absolutely pivotal here. Good positioning, of course. No stim pack started yet. Always an important, juicy target. Prism is going to get the high ground vision, and there we go. We are going to go for a big blink into the main base. SCV is going in for the hug of love. I mean, keeping this siege tank alive for a couple more shots is massive. You know what? It won't even die. Yeah, I already spoiled it, huh? Yeah, this wasn't going to win you the game. No, You know, something told me that if the game is 50 minutes or so long, and we have a 4-gate Stalker, yeah, I don't think it was gonna straight up win the game. That siege tank put in a lot of work, by the way. So much collateral damage. I'm a little... Okay, he wants to save the Banshees, yeah. He wants to come in at a bit of a different time. I thought he was purposefully trying to delay it for a bit, but he's assuming that there's going to... Yeah, he is actually delaying it on purpose. He's assuming here that there will be a shield battery inside of the main base. The cloaking upgrade, I don't think he got the tail end of it, but he must have realized that it's at least an option. So, Spirit wants to save up the Banshees, bring them together, because with 2 Banshees, shield battery or not, there is no shield battery, but you can one-shot the probes if they shoot at the exact same time. Nice little bit of skirmishing here. Astrea trying to get whatever value he can. Blink Stalkers, though, not really achieving all too much. Let's see, what can the Banshees do? Yeah, this is already so much nicer. Okay, I think we're just gonna sack him. Just deal as much damage as possible and then get out. And that is a very nice little Banshee play here. One of them will stay alive as well. Always annoying when you don't go for a Stargate opener. You don't really have an easy way to deal with that, so... Astrea is going to have to dedicate a couple of his Stalkers to just living inside of the main base. Is it a promotion? Hard to say. But that's where they're going to live for now. Stalkers, by the way, at the front, still poking and prodding. Dealing a bit of damage. Sniping a few things here and there, but ultimately, Astrea needs to be very scared of the next attack right now from Spirit. Now, spoiler alert, it's not going to win Spirit the game. He's not going to win the game, guys. No, he's not going to win the game with the +1 and the stim pack and the combat shields and all that. No. Normally, the counter-attack is really dangerous, but... I don't... No, it's... I don't think it's going to deal crippling amounts of damage. Maybe it does. Maybe it does, and Spirit is just going to go for his good old strategy where he decides to make another command center. Obviously, though, this is mostly just a moment to test the waters. He's going to go in with 2 medevacs. And he's going to use the majority of his army here to just expand. So rather than going for an all-out attack, which he can still opt to go for, he's mostly just using a big chunk of his force here to secure the 3rd command center and to now go in with a drop over in the opponent's natural. And the worker losses from earlier, well, we add some more to that total. Blink. Ooh, okay. He does get 1. Sadly, right there for the Templar, they were not quite close enough. And ultimately, 5 probes right there for a medevac full of units. Not a terrible trade for our Protoss. Alrighty, +2 is going to be coming up here for the Protoss player. Now that the 3rd command center has been secured, Ghost Academy is the logical follow-up here. Ghost Academy, of course, the go-to standard in basically every single game for Terran, but certainly very, very... Well, maybe not so much in TVT, but very, very good, of course, against Protoss. Especially since this is a Blink Stalker, or it's a Blink Stalker opener followed up right here with a bunch of High Templar. The High Templar, of course, can get EMP'd, but so can the Zealots. Usually the Templar will be accompanied with a bunch of charge slots, and, well, Ghosts are really good with their EMP ability against all of it. But Astrea not really going for an all-out attack against it. He is instead just expanding towards the 4th base. So, upon realizing that his opponent decided to take a 3rd, he's immediately gone up towards the 12 o'clock position on the map as well. Maybe the 11 o'clock position. I guess this is about 12. No, actually? No, I think this is about... Yeah, it's a little before 12. Anyways, he's decided to go for an expansion right here at the very top of the map. NG Bay together with an armory. 2nd NG Bay, that is. That is going to be for the +2/+2 research. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. I feel like I've seen quite a few late games with Protoss over the last few months. And I know that at the pro level, it's considered to be quite good for Protoss overall. And yet, I feel like I barely see Protoss players win in the late game these days. I'm trying to think of the last time I've seen like a... Oh, we have... Sorry, I'm just gonna back off. Apparently we had a cheeky little storm drop going around the site. But I feel like the vast majority of late games that I've seen lately, even though it's considered to be quite good for Protoss, I feel like most of them... Well, the ones that I've seen anyways. Nice little drop. Ooh, good bit of damage. Does get the EMP. Anyways, most of them don't seem to result in Protoss wins, is what I'm trying to get at. Especially against somebody who is as much of a macro monster as Spirit. I feel like it's going to be a very tough call. One more storm. Look at this guy throwing water balloons at the SCVs. SCVs actually managed to get a kill against their natural enemy. It's a weird moment right there. It's like a mouse eating a snake. How did that happen? It's a gazelle eating a lion. Nature is beautiful. Oh. Well, that was a very ambitious High Templar. Some nice EMPs right over there, though, on those ghosts. There's still quite a few other ghosts in the mix. And this is a position for Astrea that I really don't love. Although the Templar from the high ground is helping out. Another Templar as well on the other side of the high ground. Okay. Yeah, the Templar here ultimately saved the day. Look at that spread. So Astrea actually making sure that he cannot get all of his Templar EMP'd. Rather than putting his big Protoss army in one big ball, we're trying to mitigate as much of that EMP damage as possible, and that may just be the way to play. Now, this gets... For the moment, it's fine, right? But this gets very complex when Spirit also starts mixing in drops. It's very tempting here to use the all-army hotkey. Okay, we don't have a reaction very quickly, but it looks like it's fast enough in the end. I don't mind that. With my drop going up to watch the high ground as well inside of the main base. Cheeky positioning, and this one looks like it will get a bit of damage done. Yeah, 8 workers though at the 11-minute mark, 11.5 minutes. I don't hate it. And at this point, I think Astrea has actually got a moment here to try and collapse on top of his army. That's exactly what he does. Siege tanks are unsieged. Zealots here slicing and dicing against that metal. Another Templar forcing that Protoss army to back off for good. In the meantime, though, the 4th command center was secured in the middle of the map. This is the one with a rich Vespene geyser. We'll probably see a nexus here as well on the other side in just a moment, although it is a bit of a tricky position, of course, because you do become next door neighbors, as we have the Stargates fired up. Yep, that's Stargate 2 and 3. Another one was already produced. We have a fleet beacon on the production tab, and in the meantime, on the other side, we've got ourselves a fusion core. +1 in the armory. +2/+2 will probably be followed up, there you go, with +3 research as well. Yeah, so these two are reading this game as one that is going to go the distance. Even though they've been trying, this is not looking like a game where either of them can go ahead and push for the victory anytime soon. I love the Templar on the high ground, actually. It's so cheeky. These guys are just sunbathing, overlooking this cliff. Every once in a while, cast some magical spells against ghosts. Alright, it's gonna be Tempest here, first and foremost. Yeah, so I've seen this interaction quite a bit, right? So we see Tempest against, for example, Vikings quite a bit. And I feel like the Vikings pretty much always win. The nice thing here for Spirit is that all of those Sky Toss units that he's gonna go up against, all of them are vulnerable against Vikings. So he doesn't really have to think about it all too much. I mean, there is such a thing as overmaking Vikings, but not something that is very easily gotten to. You know, the main problem, I guess, is that you need to leave enough supply as well for Marine Marauder Medevac. And Ghosts. Awesome, beautiful EMPs over here. That Nexus is toast. Good movement here, good zoning. In the meantime, we do have that Protoss army going across, but the sensor tower is gonna give Spirit the heads up. He does have the majority of his army, though, on the left side of the map right now, so he doesn't actually know exactly where to go. Yeah, he's trying to make his way back, even using Stimpack to try and get that movement boost, to get that army across the map a little bit quicker. One of the Ghosts gets absolutely destroyed, and I think some of these Zealots, okay, will be able to clear out a few more of those SCVs. Here's the flank. Brilliant flank. Lovely work right here by Spirit. Yep, he's going to be able to clear out that entire Protoss army. One advantage, though, for Astrea is that this is now going to open up more supply for him to make Sky Toss units. So he's trying to produce as many of these upgrades as possible. Look at him. He's going four upgrades at the same time. Tempests are good, especially when the opponent doesn't have a lot of Vikings yet. Problem here for Astrea, though, is that there's already 14 Vikings up in the air, and I just now saw, well, I think I saw 6 of those Vikings being produced at once as well. Apparently Spirit feels like he doesn't really need that much more. He's going to go into the +2 nice and quickly. Very nice and early, by the way, on those armory upgrades. Needs to be complemented. Caduceus reactor coming up. And now we have a transition towards Mass Liberator. So the Fusion Core was already producing and researching the Advanced Ballistics upgrade. That is the ranged research for those libs. So ultimately, we are making a transition right now. Ooh, big storm. Storm is going to be pivotal. Yeah. Ultimately, we're making a transition right now from ground toss into sky toss. And from ground Terran into sky-terran. Flying units everywhere we go. There's the building armor. +2 for the mechanical units as well. +2 armor, that is. And yeah, we're gonna have to see who can gobble up more of the map's resources. I think in a straight up fight, Spirit is gonna feel pretty good. But obviously, much like Protoss versus Zerg, or, well, Terran versus Zerg, right? Zerg very much so is the one usually that will mine more resources. And at this point in the game, Astrea has been able to outmine his opponent for a little bit at least. I mean, right now we've got ourselves a very slight advantage here for Terran, but overall, throughout this game, Astrea has been able to secure a really solid economy. If you can take one of your opponent's bases, big stasis ward. If you can take one of your opponent's bases, that would make all the difference. Denying one of your opponent's expansions is also huge, assuming that 50% of the map is going to be mined in your favor. And that'll probably be what these players are going to be looking for. Gas will be the main limiting resource for the both of them, so minerals can be dropped on things like, for example, well, photon cannons and shield batteries and all the rest of it. Likewise for the Terran, if we do get into carriers, we could certainly see a whole lot of missile turrets going around the map. Got ourselves the damage improvement. I always forget the upgrade name. Tectonic destabilizers? I think that's it. Caster Flex. It is the double damage to structures for the Tempest. It'll show up on the right side of the screen if I'm right. Okay. Vikings hunting this down. Nicely done right here by Spirit. Losing a lot of the Vikings as well. There's once again one of the Templar coming in clutch. Mama ship coming in from the north. For some reason, misrallied, and I think she's gonna have to pay the price? Maybe not. Tectonic destabilizers, by the way. I was right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I was just leaving a little bit of space right there for you to hit the like button. Clap your hands together. Yeah. Okay. A tactical nuke is researching. This is a game where we could certainly see a lot of nukes. Let's count the nukes. I always lose track of them. If we're gonna see a lot of nukes, let's count them. Because this is a game, right, where neither of them is really on the brink of winning. And nukes are actually very cost efficient when it comes to dealing with all that static defense. So Astrea is likely going to be making tons of photon cannons and shield batteries and all the rest of it. This would be a situation where you can see quite a few of the tactical nukes flying across the screen. I've already set up my camera location hotkey. Oh! Thank you, Spirit, for making me look good. Well, this is a little awkward. These two are, anyways, maybe they had an argument. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, right? So we have a bit of a skirmish as well in the middle of the map right now. Mama ship is still alive. We have a fight happening between some of these players, but mostly, or some of these players' units rather, but mostly they're just tiptoeing around one another. That was nuke number 1, by the way. Are we gonna see another one? I think so. This time around, my Q didn't work. Dark Shrine coming up. So this is that stage in a Terran versus Protoss, where you are so rich that you can just point at an upgrade and buy it. You don't even need it. Do we need a Dark Shrine here? No. It's nice, though. Do we need a whole lot of... Well, upgrades are actually nice. Yeah, but things like building armor, Caduceus reactor. Oh! Those are the types of things that are Luxury purchases. Remember that one very famous video of Michael Jackson going to a mall? He goes to like this art store and he just points at stuff that he really wants to buy. He doesn't even like, you know, wait for the person in the store to get it off the wall or to really give it a close look. He just points to stuff and he buys it all. This is basically that point in a Terran versus Protoss, where the players just point at stuff and that's what they get. Problem is that at some point you are gonna run out of cash, usually. It all comes down to the player that mines more resources in the end, assuming the trades are at least somewhat cost efficient. So you can tell here that considering 20 minutes of skirmishing, so we have another tactical nuke. What? Sorry, what? Where did he just nuke his own army? No, I think he was trying to prevent the Protoss from moving up the ramp. So here's where the nuke finishes. The nuke was... Ah, well, I think that's a misclick. Yeah, that was a nuke for the fans. Yeah, that was a nuke for the fans. Shout out to Spirit. I mean, that is a really sketchy position. If you are a Protoss player here and you are thinking of engaging, as we do have another big blink forward. I mean, it's red on red, right? Like we get to see this big graphical, you know, notification, but that's not what Astrea sees whilst he's playing against this sort of thing. He's just gonna see a tiny little red dot on red plants, on a red map. Nice zoning here once again. Spirit has now successfully cut off this 12 o'clock position several times here. We have a Marauder drop headed into the main base just to try and pull some of that Protoss army back. And once again, this is opening an opportunity here for those Vikings to try and swoop in and get a few kills. But honestly, so far, Astrea has been controlling and maneuvering his army properly. How many times have we seen the mama ships and the carriers and everything just be left alone? Yep. He is on point when it comes to the Templar positioning. He's doing a very good job just constantly zoning away against these units. Now, there's 4 Marauders. They're hugging each other, they're hugging the Protoss structures. They're actually being quite annoying. Astrea not really sending anything on over in that direction, just instead remaking the fleet beacon. Tactical nuke number 3. This one is gonna go up from the low ground towards the high ground. It's a very ambitious ghost. But now he's dead. Yeah, poor guy. Can we get another one? I need a title for my video, Spirit. Spirit's 10 plus tactical nukes? Question mark, exclamation point. You won't believe how many nukes there are in this. You get the gist. Oh, man. Oh, there's another nuke for the fans coming in. I mean, we've seen a lot of dead Vikings. I feel like normally the Vikings get more value. All jokes aside, I feel like most of the time, the Vikings at this point in the game will have gotten more value. So yes, there's been 7 Tempest kills, but 13 Vikings going down. Honestly, really nice here for Astrea. You can tell right now as well that Astrea is starting to pull ahead when it comes to the worker count. He's decided to stop producing workers at 69. Could be coincidence, but players do seem to land on 69 workers quite a bit. So we do have more and more photon cannons coming up. So this is what I'm trying to say, right? So this is one of those locations. Say there's a ghost over here. It can just nuke all of this on the low ground for 100 minerals, 100 gas. There's another one going across. Vikings apparently did find something just now. It was the mama ship. I think that's what we call a -300, -300. Although this is honestly quite cost efficient. Nuke. Oh, yeah, okay. He barely managed to snipe the ghost that was indeed in charge of setting that nuke off. Most of the shield batteries here are now without energy, so Astrea decides to back off. Let's get a cheeky little stasis ward down. This is a good trade though for Spirit here in the end. You gotta try and prevent Protoss from getting into those unbreakable positions. Because when you're fighting on top of... Well, when you're fighting maxed out army versus maxed out army, but you're fighting on top of a dozen shield batteries, obviously the game becomes very tough. Yeah, and Astrea's doing a really nice job here, protecting his Sky Toss army. The Stalkers and the High Templar have been working together very nicely. Honestly, the High Templar micro in this game has been excellent. I always kind of feel like most of the time, Protoss players, even at the highest level, don't quite get the value that they could be getting out of the Templar, but Astrea getting a lot of them out on the battlefield. He's now even got 11 of them. How many have died? 17, yeah. I mean, they're costly. They're not a cheap unit to produce, but Storm has been keeping him alive here. I've already lost count of the nukes, by the way. Dang it. Was that 4? I think that was 4. Oh, that was an awkward moment. That command center wanted to land over here at the 12 o'clock position. And now he is making the flight of shame. Back up once again. Another nuke on the production tab. 2 more Stargates as well. There's Mama. Mama! There she is. Is she gonna go for a cheeky little mass recall? Is that the plan? I love mass recall strategies. I mean, it's good if you have a lot of Sky Toss. I'm not so sure if it's great to just teleport the army around. Just for the hell of, you know, teleporting it around. So obviously the recall ability on the Mama ship and then the recall ability on the Nexi, they do not share a cooldown, as we do have another Tactical Nuke. This time around going to the center of the map, and this one is going to be tough to spot. Stalkers in the meantime way overextended. Okay, he does pull the probes, but even though, yeah, the probes have been saved, a lot of Stalkers paid the price there. He immediately replenishes that army with more Stalkers, but that is something worth noting. I think that was nuke number 5, by the way. Oh, man. Was it 5? I always try to keep track of the nuke counts in these types of matches, but I don't know. There's like a number that shows up as well on the left side of the screen. But it doesn't always seem to be the corresponding number of... I don't know. I get a little confused by the number. I did finish elementary school, by the way, for those of you curious. Because I know my counting skills and my math skills and simple subtraction. It doesn't look particularly great. But I don't want to flex. For those of you curious, though, I did finish elementary school. Yeah. My CETO score was really good, chat. It was... Oof. You don't have CETO scores in other countries? Okay. Anyways. I think my CETO score was 548. Like a proper nerd. Let's see. We had a big test at the end of elementary school. Everybody was scared. CETO. It is C-I-T-O. I have no idea if other countries use the same system. Finally, I found an opportunity to flex about my CETO score. It's taken me about 20 years. Literally! It's been more than... Oh my god, it's been 20 years since... Oh my... Anyways. Dude, now we have double nukes happening all over the map. One thing to note is that in these type of games, player stamina is very critical. It is so easy to just slip up, right? So, like, obviously, I have some time here to talk about irrelevant stuff. Like my ability to be able to put, you know, 6 and 1 together. It's quite impressive. These guys, however, are playing some very fast StarCraft and trying to control the entire map. This is the type of game where you have to stay on top of it, because, well, you have the margin for error, right? At this point in the match is still absolutely tiny. So you gotta stay on top of it. Yes, you can replenish your army, but it could be very costly. At this point, by the way, the Terran army is gonna be significantly more valuable than that of the Protoss, but Protoss has way more money in the bank. Yeah, basically the system we use in the Netherlands, at least when I was a kid, it's basically like the Hogwarts sorting hat, where you put on the hat and it's like, interesting. And then it spits out a certain result that you will have to follow in high school. So the schooling system here is a little bit different. We have multiple different, I guess you can call them levels in high school. And depending on how well you do your CETO test, you got put into one of the Dutch schooling houses. This could be a big one, actually. There's a skirmish going on over here in the middle of the map. Oh, okay. Now that's what Spirit was looking for. That is what Terran dreams are made of. Sweet dreams are made of these nukes. Oh. Yeah. And this is a moment where Astrea is starting to lose the plot a little bit. Templar going down. So he's been frantically looking around the map, trying to spot the tiny little red dot. It's easy when you're playing 4 bases, or at least relatively easy. But when you have half the map to, you know, to look for a nuke for, it's very easy to accidentally miss it. Teachers would always emphasize, though, that if you had a bad CETO score, it did not mean you were dumb. Yeah, they always... But it did mean that you would go to a lower level of high school. So it was something. Double nukes, baby, let's go! Careful, Astrea. On your little tippy toes with your Skytle's army. Oh god, oh, no, don't go south. Okay. Lucky Protoss units right there don't have to worry about radiation, apparently. They just walked straight into the smoke. No worries, though. I think the average lifespan of a Protoss unit is about 2 minutes in this game. So I guess none of the fallout will really be a problem. Oh my god, look at this. We're still shopping. Yeah, cue the Michael Jackson meme again. That is the Void Ray speed buff. Now, how many Void Rays have we seen so far in this game? 0. By the way, even though we see the players as blue and red, the players can change their own colors while in game. So I don't think Astrea is going to be playing in red. None of the pro gamers would be playing in red, because it's impossible to spot nukes. Even if red is your favorite color, they will never be playing with it. Is there still an upgrade in the game that the players did not get? At some point, there's probably none. I don't think we've seen the blink. No, we have seen Shadow Strike. Okay. No, there's got to be upgrades that we're missing. At least for the player, for the units that are out right now. There's a lot. Man, how many Vikings are we on? 52 Vikings have died. 38 of them are out on the map right now. We're going triple digits at this rate. Spirit is starting to mix in a couple of missile turrets. I understand the hesitation. So normally at some point, you would see the transition towards carriers. But Astrea is apparently not fond of the carrier here whatsoever. Is the magic to playing Protoss late game to skip the carrier altogether? One significant oversight here, actually, for our Terran player is that he's missing +3. +3 armor. Tactical Nuke is going to land once again. +3 armor, by the way, is very significant. Although it seems like the majority of the Protoss' damage right now is coming from Tempest. Getting a little bit of minus damage against these big balls of energy doesn't really do much. Plus, of course, Sonic Storm. And armor upgrades are irrelevant when it comes to magical spells in StarCraft 2. Oh my god. That's brutal, man. Yeah, this is the players getting rid of their workers. It is always an interesting moment, because the entire early game is trying to reduce your opponent's worker count, right? Like, that's basically all of the strategies in a match of StarCraft. And in the late game, the players don't want them anymore. Main problem, of course, is that you're limited by 200 supply, and, well, when you have 80 supply caught up in workers, it is just simply too much. So we have a combination of Tempest right now together with Oracles for the Protoss. The idea is that you can use Revelation, like he's done right here on these Vikings, which will allow the Tempest to, well, use their range, because the Tempest can shoot away further than they can actually see. So So if you can tag that army, you can shoot at those, well, units affected by it at a little bit more distance without needing an observer or any other unit close by for 15 seconds. Okay. So it's 100 minerals, 100 gas for each nuke. I've lost track, by the way. I have no idea. It's a lot. I think that's the number we're gonna go with. Number is big. It's a bigly number. Okay, snipe into Psionic Storm. I'm surprised with how even the losses have been. And I'm still a little afraid that at some point we are going to just see this Protoss army get absolutely whacked. Look at this Spirit. Woo, trying to go for a big concave. Trying to mitigate as much of that splash damage as possible. Spirit, by the way, has managed to successfully get this base up and running now basically the entire game long, or as long as this base was taken. So that's a fully mined out expansion, which basically means that Astrea is saying, look, I am not gonna worry about harassing your economy anymore. Instead, my only concern is mining out my half of the map. So Astrea is pointing towards 50% mining. That's what he's aiming for, which means that he believes he can win this game by being more cost efficient in the ultimate late game. Let's see. Oh, another sacrifice. Yeah, Protoss players believe in blood sacrifice. This is something that I learned. Yeah. Many societies in the history of the Earth, yeah, human sacrifice is not, you know, it's cruel. It's evil, but it's not unheard of. And Protoss players are apparently. Yeah, look at this guy. He's like, yo, kill me next, please, sir, please. Okay, Probius, calm down. Yeah, there's just not enough mineral fields anymore. So as long, yeah, there's a couple more over here, I guess, but as long as there's mineral fields to mine, the probes will live. But as soon as their jobs are over, we gotta get rid of them. And this is actually looking like a game where we might just see 200 army supply going up against 200 army supply, because both players are aiming for 0 workers. Let's see. I am still not sure if I like this for Astrea. I just have seen so many games where it goes horribly wrong at some point. Like the Mama ship gets sniped, the High Templar get EMP'd, and then suddenly the entire Terran army just destroys that of the Protoss. Obviously, the opposite could be true as well. Like Terran could also just not pay attention for a little bit and get all of their clumped up Vikings stormed, right? Like that is certainly possible. But I feel like I've seen the first version of that engagement a lot more frequently than this second. So let's see. This game will have to be decided at some point by players committing to a big engagement. Look at this. Army size has been incredibly high. There's another tactical nuke going across. Astrea, by the way, not really a player who I think gets particularly nervous playing at like a big tournament. At least I've never really noticed that so much in his game plan or in his gameplay. I may be wrong, but there's a lot of players out there that play substantially worse whenever they're playing at an offline venue. So they're actually, you know, playing from a stage. When they look past their monitor, they're seeing a lot of giddy nerds looking at their performance. Astrea doesn't really strike me as somebody like that. Margin for error, though. Absolutely tiny still. I love the Templar on the high ground. I feel like we don't see that frequently enough. It's such a no-brainer, though, when you think about it. Apparently, we're going to add on more command centers. Look, Spirit, the command center era is over. These are command centers that will just be there for scanning. So basically, he wants to disable the fog of war entirely. But you gotta be careful here that you don't get carried away making too much infrastructure. Command centers are still 400 minerals each. Orbital command is 150 minerals on top of that. And even though Spirit is looking at his bank right now and he thinks, yo, I am balling. Turns out there's always somebody richer than you. And in this game, well, there's only 2 people. Apparently that man is indeed his opponent. And this is a good fight here, actually. The entire Terran army, or at least the entire ground force of the Terran, is on the other side of the map. Astrea is saying, look, I don't really need these workers. I don't really care about them. I believe in blood sacrifice. I'm ready to have you murder my workers. And if that means I can go ahead and snipe some of your command centers, that's like, what, 500 minerals lost on the side of the Protoss? He's killed a few thousand minerals worth here of the Terran. Oh, big aggressive blink right after getting his army EMP'd. Yeah, there's no storm energy over on these bad boys, so finally Spirit can get the engagement that he's been looking for, but it does mean that all of the Stalkers right now are underneath. Vikings, though, will be able to absolutely destroy every single one of these flying units. Mama Ship finally decides to wake up from her nap. She's a little old. Yeah, she needs a nap every once in a while. I mean, that's a lot of dead Vikings too, though. Astrea has got so much more money in the bank. Even though Spirit will be able to remax, I think Astrea will be able to remax after remaxing. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna cost Spirit most of his bank to go back up to 200 supply. But Astrea is still gonna have... He's still gonna be able to throw parties. He's still gonna be able to go on his Mediterranean holiday for like a month. He's still gonna be able to buy a yacht. He's gonna be able to do all of the luxury activities that Protoss players are fond of. And blood sacrifice, of course. Don't forget about the blood sacrifice. They love it. Yeah. We've now had 99 workers killed in this game. I think Astrea has been responsible for about 80 of those probes. Maybe not directly, but he's the reason why they died. Okay, so all jokes aside, though, where are we ultimately at? 14,000 resources in the bank still for Astrea, but he still needs to max out with about 40 supply. He's not remaxing super quickly here because I think he wants to make more Sky Toss units. Spirit is flat broke. Like, Spirit is not even maxed out right now. He's got 700 gas, sure. He's trying to make more Vikings, sure. But, you know what? 17, no, this is not enough. We're gonna go up to about 20 Vikings, which is nice and all. He's probably gonna lose like 5 of them before we can even force a big engagement. I think the Sky Toss army here will ultimately reign supreme. It's funny because it's been fully supported by the Stalkers and the Templar. The Sky Toss units themselves have not really achieved as much. But as soon as Terran doesn't have a proper counter... Ooh, look. More sacrifice. Nice. As long as Terran doesn't have a... Like, as soon as Terran doesn't have a counter anymore... He doesn't want to kill them. He literally does not want to give his opponent another, like, 5 supply worth of units. No, don't do it. I actually think you shouldn't kill your opponent's workers here when they donate them to you. It's a very backwards way of thinking, but... Anyways, now carriers come out. So look at this. Astrea has realized that his opponent seems quite broke. Spirit is still maxed out, but this is apparently the moment where he starts up the transition towards the carrier. Spicy. Obviously, carriers do need minerals, though. You need minerals to replenish the interceptors, and they're not a cheap unit by any stretch of the imagination. It's interesting. So we have not seen any carriers the entire game long until apparently about minute 43. It's a dangerous play. So, is there still any mining? Does Terran still have any income? 0. 0, 0. He's got no minerals coming in, no gas. Likewise, Protoss has no gas coming in, and these are the final minerals that he's getting home right now. He's not bothering making a nexus, instead we're just long distance mining the final mineral field. The entire map is soon to be mined out. The entire map is actually just about to be fully mined out. Except for... We should actually mine out the Golden Wall. Now, this could get into a very awkward position. No, I don't think so. I think Astrea is actually very far ahead. No. I don't see how Spirit is going to be able to attack. That's the problem here that he's going to be running into. I think Astrea has an opportunity to attack. Spirit does not really have that luxury anymore. Obviously, Spirit doesn't know how much money there is for the opponent. But... oh, this is really nice, though. Oh, getting 2 Templar. Not bad. Without money, Spirit will be unable to repair. So, you need minerals and gas in order to, for example, repair a Viking. It's a very niche little bit of information, but this bad boy, this SCV, just spent the final minerals. This guy over here. Yeah. Yeah, are you happy now? There's no more money. That's it. Spirit is broke. It's obviously much cheaper. Oh, more sacrifices. It's obviously much cheaper to repair than it is to rebuild. What? Okay. When's the last time you've seen this in a pro game? Come on, bro, kill me. No, I want to die first. No, you... okay, perfect. Yeah, these SCVs are upset. They haven't been paid in a while. The real question is, though, how in the world is Spirit going to be able to fight this army and then another Remax? I don't see it happening. Astrea does not need to take any real... like, he doesn't need to rush this, right? He can take this very easily. I mean, those snipes are really good. Astrea likewise doesn't know how much mining the opponent is, or how much money the opponent rather has really gathered. There is still mining over here. I'm a little surprised Astrea, or sorry, Spirit is not actually getting those, like there's still mining, right? He's got mules. He's got 6 orbital commands, which is nothing amazing, but I think he needs to go back to mining. I think in his mind, why are we just idling 40 workers? Like, or, okay, 28 workers. Why are we just putting them there? I think he should really just be mining out whatever he can. I actually thought the entire map was mined out, but I'm wrong. There's still money to be gathered. So Protoss is mined 50%. Spirit is mined like 46. I pulled that number out of my CETO score. That, yeah. Turns out I can't count nukes. But I can give you estimation. Alright, where do we go from here? I think what we're seeing now is a Terran player slowly suffocate to death. Yeah, I think that's what we're witnessing. Is that, if that's what you're into? Yeah, keep watching. I don't see how... I don't see how Spirit can win this. Like, we have perfect information of the game, right? I think Astrea is likewise making the assumption here that Spirit has mined out his half of the map. I don't know how long it's been since he last checked the middle bases. But I think it's very surprising Spirit has not decided to go after these final bits of money. Like, he could at least long distance mine it, but he could also just fly a command center over there, right? Like, there's really no reason. Obviously, the reason why this is happening, by the way, is that he just hasn't looked. He just hasn't paid attention to it. Looks like the army, by the way, in the bottom right-hand corner will be found. Any damage done right now is good. Spirit has seen that at this point he's going up against carriers, and even though normally Terrans can be really good against carriers, even just Marines alone are really good. Every Stimpec right now is going to be costly. He can't produce any more Vikings. There was this one game that I got to cast. I think this was at a Home Story Cup between Raynor and Showtime. One of the most painful games, if you're a Protoss fan, ever. This was a complete macro game. Entire map was mined out, except for one base that Showtime never touched. And we asked Showtime afterwards, like, hey, what happened? And he's like, I didn't see it. Like, I didn't see the base. It was right there, it was in the middle of the map, and he, for some reason, just completely blanked out over a full expansion. I think if he would have seen that base, he would have won the game. But he just didn't see it. Like, it was him, it was nothing preventing him from mining it. He just didn't see. Like, that is one of my worst anxieties of being a StarCraft player. Especially if your match is televised, and casters are going to be bringing it up like a half year after that particular moment occurred. I'm never gonna forget about it. Sorry, Showtime. Showtime doesn't watch this, we're good. Yeah, tunnel visioning is a very real thing, though. So the reason Astrea is playing this slowly is because he assumes that Spirit has got more money. There is zero reason why Spirit shouldn't have more money here. So Astrea is trying to take this as carefully as possible. He's hoping his opponent is gonna accidentally set off a stasis ward or accidentally trap some of that army or get it boxed once again into the corner. I think the entire army, by the way, hanging out in the corner of the map is also some fatigue coming in. Yeah, Astrea has this in the bag. The only thing that... So he's literally flying by this location of the map right now. Really? We're gonna sack the SCVs? But we're not gonna be able to replace them with anything anyways. I think he's gonna use them as like... I think we're just gonna use them as bait. Yeah, I think Spirit at this point is actually losing the plot a little bit. Yeah, he's purposely not killing them. I don't... Yeah. It's a decision you gotta make. I think at this point, Astrea has seen the money in the middle of the map. He's seen that there's still mineral fields. He must have, right? Because it's been a while. Look at Probius, by the way, going to town with his brother. They know the win condition. Or his brothers, rather. They know the win conditions of StarCraft 2. You gotta destroy your own... Yeah, your opponent's structure, so if that's what it takes. Anyways, I think Astrea saw the minerals in the middle of the map by now, because it's been about 5 minutes. And he realized that killing the SCVs is actually beneficial. Spirit will not be tapping out, by the way, before it is absolutely necessary. It is the right call. There's really no reason for him to be doing it. But we are indeed now down to single digits worth of workers. This is a very ambitious nuke. Yeah. Like the, I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope my opponent walks his army into the nuke type of nuke. You know things are bad whenever you start believing in that. So this is now, by the way, less workers than both of the players started off the entire match with. Rarely do we see players going down to single digits. There's Probius and his brothers again. That was the final nuke of the game, by the way. Spirit is unable to afford another one. I still... Yeah, the tunnel visioning here is real. I still do not understand why we're not mining out the final resources. Even if it's just for repairs. Okay, well, here we go. Spirit has decided to pull the trigger. We have a bit of pre-storming here as well. I mean, this is still one hell of a fight for the Terran player, but I think he just does not have the numbers. All of the Vikings get destroyed. GG is cold. And ultimately, it's the American player Astrea who obtains the victory in one of the longest games of TVP. It's one of the longest games I've seen all year. Ridiculous.